Are you ready to take your message, your business, and your life to the next level?
Want to learn from someone with more than a decade of experience, training tens of thousands of people from all around the world?
Hi, Cliff. This is Pauline from Auckland, New Zealand.
John from Calgary, Alberta.
Amy Porterfield.
Michael Hyatt.
Dan here from Dunedin, New Zealand.
Ray Edwards.
Mark Mason. Mike Stelzner.
Pat from Smart Passive Income.
It's Darren from Melbourne, Australia.
Now is the time to live the life of your dreams and do the work you feel most called to do in the world.
Welcome to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
Here's your host, Cliff Ravenscraft.
Welcome back, my friend. And in this episode, I want to introduce you to the secret weapon of top entrepreneurs. Would you like to know the number one resource that has helped those who are full-time, self-employed make it through all of the ups and downs in their entrepreneurial journey? Well, today you're going to hear all about that number one resource. In fact, you've heard me talk about this resource for more than a decade. That's right. It is the Power of Mastermind Groups. Now, if you're a longtime listener and you're like, hey, Cliff, thanks for the episode. I've heard you do your whole spiel about the benefits of being in a mastermind group at least 8, 9, 10 times in the past. I think I'll skip this one. Don't do that. Here's why. This is a completely different and fresh approach to sharing with you what awaits you potentially if you are full-time self-employed as it relates to having this powerful experience in a mastermind group. Now, how is this a fresh approach? Well, in the past, I've invited some friends of mine who I've been in the Green Room Mastermind Group with for years. And of course, I've done tons of solo episodes. But in today's episode, you're going to hear from Anne Michelle Francis and some of her experiences since she's joined the Next Level Mastermind. In fact, we just did a live stream collaboration together, and everything else is going to be explained as soon as I transition into the recording of that piece of content right here, right now. I was writing an email to my mailing list the other day about the Power of Mastermind Groups, and Anne Michelle says, Cliff, we should talk about this. Maybe you should interview one of us from the group and let's chat about some of these aspects so people know about it. But before we get into my list of topics that I included in my email, Anne Michelle, I'd love to ask you, what has been your experience with mastermind groups? How have you just valued from them off the top of your head, personally and or professionally?
You are surrounded by people who either know more than you or have a different perspective than you, or can contribute something towards some sort of challenge that you're in at that particular moment. And usually people who are also in the group, they need feedback. And so they're willing to give feedback. And so it's a very collaborative unit. Anytime it's a mastermind or a program that's very interactive, and people want to give that. And then, so when you need something, it's easy to just go and ask for something that otherwise you wouldn't have the resources to go to. And often people are ahead of you, often people are behind you in certain things. And so you always know that you have a good resource to go to get help.
You applied for the Next Level Mastermind, if I recall, back in 2018, I believe. As a result of that time together, you had made a decision for somebody else to participate in the mastermind because you felt like they could benefit from it more than you. But then years later, you, to my surprise, you were still out there listening to my content, reading my emails, and something happened that you're like, okay, it's time for me to participate in the Next Level Mastermind. Can you tell me what that journey was between when you first heard about the Next Level Mastermind, the fact that you didn't participate, and what was it that resonated with you that made you eventually come back and apply for yourself?
Let me think about how to consolidate the answer to this question as the best I can. I was in I guess, quote unquote, mastermind. It was an e-commerce program back in 2020. And it was that we were meeting every day. We were meeting online, and it was a fantastic group of people. And all of us became very, very close and continued to remain friends even after that group kind of ended and didn't progress to the next level with that particular coach. And so I feel like for the last couple of years, I just haven't had the direction of a coach being able to help me, whether that's mentally, emotionally, financially, just business wise, looking for someone who is in a place where I want them to be with the mindset that I want them to have so that they can help gear me toward the path that I want. And so I've known that I've wanted that. And as I've done more and more reading and research and explored different things and actually reached out, I was in pursuit of a coach also. So I was reaching out to people that I highly respected and asked them if they wanted to be my coach. And they weren't necessarily coaches, so they weren't in the position to say they wanted to. So then I started seeing more of your emails, and it was all just happening around the same time to reach out and say, hey, I think I'm ready for a mastermind now.
Can you give a little bit of background? Because I want to make sure that people can kind of resonate with at least the aspects of your entrepreneurial journey. Because today I see you very much as an entrepreneur out there building a business that's your own, but you started out kind of like I did in a family business. And so can you share just a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey?
Sure. I mean, it started, I think in 2005, I started working for my father. So I started working in his law office, and I had just had my first child. And at the same year, almost the same month, I believe, my ex-husband and I opened a retail store, a surf and skateboard shop. So on one hand, I was becoming an employee of a law office. And on the other, I was starting this entrepreneurial journey of owning retail stores. And so that continued. I mean, we ended up opening 3 stores. We closed our last store in 2020. And I continued working for my father in the law office all the way through the beginning of this year. So for 15 years, I was a retail store owner. And for 18 years, I was working in a law office until I started my own legal services office where I contract with attorneys. And so that's really where my entrepreneurial journey shifted into one that was solely me versus one that was in collaboration with my father or one that was in collaboration with my ex-husband.
And what have you learned since you've been out on your own? And this is like my journey, my business. What has that felt like on an emotional level?
It has been very scary. It has to not have a collaborator. It has been very challenging. It's difficult to be the only one in charge of all the decisions. And so having that responsibility and having employees and having them look to you for that direction, it can be very overwhelming. And so that's really where coaching has come in, to know that anytime I have a question, you all have become that collaborative group for me to send a message, and all of you are responding, and to know that everyone's busy, to know that everyone has their own thing going on, and you all respond with 5, 10, 15-minute audios letting me know. And it can be anything from how do I organize all these books that I want to read and am reading, to how do I do this contract and proposal with this potential client. And it's been amazing to have that, literally that resource at the touch of at the palm of my fingertip. How do I say that?
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
It's awesome. I love that. So what I'd love to do is, since what inspired this collaboration between the two of us together to create this piece of content, I'm going to go through the bullet point list of the things that were in the email. And I'd love for us to just dialogue. How does this resonate with us as being true? And if not, feel free to call it out. Say, Cliff, I really think you need to step up the game in this area. I'm totally fine with that. All right. So the first bullet point benefit of being in a mastermind group, specifically the next level mastermind, because there's a lot of mastermind groups out there, and there are many healthy ones out there like the next level mastermind, but there are also not some such great healthy mastermind groups. So we're going to specifically be speaking of the benefits of the next level mastermind, which, by the way, you can find at nextlevelmastermind.info if you are interested. By the way, the first benefit is collective expertise. You benefit from the education, the experience, the areas of expertise, the skills, talents, and abilities of others in the group. Does that resonate with you? And if so, how, Anne Michelle?
It resonates with me, and I'm going to say the first thing that came to mind is all the book references. I swear you have read every single book out there, and so for every situation that anyone has, there's a book, so you can get 10 more hours of audio to learn more about whatever that is. And just recently, you started talking about the book 10x is easier than 2x. So I picked that book up and started getting into that, and then it refers to your future self. And so I said, well, I need to figure out who my future self is. So then I started reading Be Your Future Self Now. And then I finished that book, have a good solid understanding of who that person is and will be. And then I'm back in 10x is easier than 2x. And then when all of us have been on that path of reading, then it's easy. We can also reference it. But in addition to that, you always have a reference that's higher and better and greater that we can always go back to in the meantime.
I love that you brought that up first, because the funny thing is that I'm a part of multiple mastermind groups. And one, I've been in the same mastermind group since October 2010 with Pat Flynn, Michael Stelzner, Ray Edwards, Mark Mason, and Leslie Samuel. And it was Michael Stelzner from Social Media Examiner and Social Media Marketing World who told me about 10x is easier than 2x. And this is a book that I probably would have never read, but he came in with such a compelling description of what the book is. He obviously had been impacted. He's like, listen, I'm scrapping all of this, and we're doing this. And he says, I recommend each of you read this book. And so I immediately put it on my list of hundreds of potential to read books. But then other people in the group came back the next week. It's like, I just finished this and reading 10x is easier than 2x. And this is how it's going to change everything for me. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to move it to the top of the book, top of the list. And I started reading. It's like, okay, now I understand why they're reading it. So I brought it over to the Next Level Mastermind, as you said. And the funny part is I am almost finished reading Be Your Future Self Now, which I would not have read had you not brought it up and said, wow, that led me to this book, and this book is really good. Yes, that is a perfect way of experiencing. And that's the key, because there are millions and millions and millions of books that we could read. But what I love here, and the thing is I'm in no shortage. I am not in need of just more books to read. I have hundreds on my to potentially read list between now and when I exit the earth. So I'm not looking for new books. But what I love what you're speaking to is when you're in a mastermind group and you're in a group of people who are devoted to unceasing personal and professional development, these people are always looking to learn and consistently grow. It's not necessarily that we're needing a new book to read, but when we express a pain point or an obstacle or a problem or a dream or a desire of what we want to implement, it's the right book at the right time gets recommended. And when there's a large group of people, I love that you jokingly said, Cliff, it seems like you've read every book on this planet. I haven't. What I have read is about 80 or 90 books that have been profoundly life transformative, and they're around the books that I most needed at the moment. And it just so happens that I've seen a lot of other people struggling with a lot of things that I struggle with. But the fun thing is that there are books that other people in the group will recommend for a problem or pain that you will face that I have never read. And then I'm like, that sounds interesting. I'm not going after what Anne Michelle is going after. I haven't stated that as a goal, but man, that's worthy of consideration of a goal. So now, not only will I potentially think about that as a goal, but if I do, I know I'm going to read that book. All right. That was a lot.
I do want to mention, though, that even before I had hired you as a coach, I think when we had just interviewed in the beginning, you said 2018, I had told you a pain point I was having in the business.
Yes.
And you, I believe, went back to your mastermind and came back to me with the book, The Big Leap, which I devoured. And that completely changed the trajectory of the business when I was working with my dad, to give me the confidence in the first place to be able to open my own business independently. And so coming back full circle to your mastermind with my own business based on that book that even put me there was huge.
Yeah. And I think, Big Leap, I know that I actually came, because that book's changed my life, and I was introduced to that in 2017. But I remember specifically the book you're referring to is, I think, Built to Sell.
Yes, that's it.
So here's the thing. You were in a business with your dad, and you're like, listen, I want to build this business so that when my dad retires, this thing's it can be sold and I can go do my thing in the world, right? And I'm like, I have no clue. But because I had the access of a mastermind, I simply went and got a text message. By the way, to this day, I have still never read the book Built to Sell. But you and I were actually in a coaching relationship at the time. And think about that, how I, as a coach, was able to introduce you to the exact right book with the exact right information that transformed your experience in that business with your dad. And it's not because I personally had an experience with reading that book, but I had access to a group that when I told them what it is that you were struggling with, they said, here's the book she should read. Boom, done. And then you attribute so much of that. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I worked with Cliff Ravens. This is the power of the mastermind. Collective expertise. All right, next, valuable feedback from those who understand what you face. What's the difference between feedback and valuable feedback in your mind?
I mean, I'm just going to tell you the feedback that the group always tells me, and they have the confidence to tell me, because normally, when you're the boss, people aren't really telling you, my kids aren't telling me what I need to do. And over, everyone's telling me, slow down and breathe all the time. And so I should be doing that right now. But that feedback, otherwise, I don't get until I'm in the hot seat. It's my time and I'm trying to rush through and get everything crammed in. And everyone's like, slow down, breathe. And that to me, collectively hearing it from multiple people is huge for me. But aside from that, the actual feedback from different scenarios that everyone has a very different viewpoint. Everyone has different experience that they bring to it. So one person has finance, one person has email lists, and you go in with one problem, and then there are 5 different ways to solve it. And I don't know how long it is between hot seats right now. Is it 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
It's 6 weeks right now.
And what I get from one hot seat is more than enough to try and figure out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. It's a lot that you get back in that hour and a half of solely being the person that has the problem that needs to be solved. And it's huge because of all that. Where if it's one-on-one, you probably don't have enough feedback to get through months that you need to dig through. So it's huge to look back and say, okay, these are all the things I can do better.
The other thing that I love is the valuable feedback is these are people who understand the kind of decisions that you're facing. There's feedback from people who don't know what it's like to be a business owner. And if you're relatively new to being full-time self-employed, if you're still doing life with other people who don't own businesses, their feedback can be valuable, but it's never as valuable as somebody who really genuinely understands and has been in the seat where you are facing that kind of decision. And as a business owner, of course, you and I have relatively small teams right now. You actually have an employee though. But I can tell you right now, there have been many times I've sat in hot seats where people are like, listen, I don't even know how I'm going to make payroll this week. I've got this decision to make. Should I do this, or this? And who are you going to turn to other than other business owners who have had similar experiences in their life, who really understand the weight of that decision? So valuable feedback that you can rely on is very important.
Yeah, I'll also say that because we are not just business owners, we all have real lives, we are all real people, our personal lives come into it too, not intentionally. It's not therapy session, but we know our kids' names and we know what people are doing that week and why they're here or there or traveling or not traveling or on vacation or whatever they're doing. And they report back to us and we know when someone's injured. So it's important to also have that kind of family feeling also. So because it's not just business and so much of what you can or can't do has to do with what's going on at home too. And so the fact that we can talk about all of that freely. I mean, one of my hot seats was purely about values. It wasn't even about the business side. It was just personal values and let's dig deep into this. And that was because that was something huge I wanted to explore that week. And so having the option to choose whatever you want and also being there for other people is also what you get from the mastermind without even realizing it. You're not just coming in as this 100%, I only do business, I only make X number of dollars. We're real people and we really want to grow our businesses.
Yeah. And so much of what we can do is affected by what's going on in our personal lives. And there are a number of people when they're relatively new to the hot seat, they're like, listen, I am so sorry, but I haven't thought of anything related to my business this week. I'm really struggling with this personal crisis with a family member. And it's like, let's talk about that. well, you know what, just let somebody else in the hot seat. No, let's talk about your crisis moment. This is what this group is here for. And so, yeah, I love that. All right. The next topic I have here is efficient learning curve. Avoid common pitfalls and less trial and error because other people have gone before and have been down the path that maybe you're going down. Maybe not everyone, but usually there's somebody else out there who either has direct experience about the path you're looking to travel down, or they know someone who has, and they can give you insight on common pitfalls. Have you experienced this, and what's your thought related to it?
I have, yeah. Right away, I think of I had a specific issue with videos that I have been creating for content, and we needed to remove certain things and snippets from them. And I think it was you, Cliff. I don't even think anyone else needed to contribute to that one. You had AI and timestamps and transcripts, and it's so many different, and hiring someone on Fiverr to edit this and that. And you had a to-do list of exactly what to do. You recorded it. You sent me the whole transcript from the meeting anyways, and the video. But I took a snippet of it. I sent it to my assistant, a 10-minute snippet of it to show her what to do. I literally left. I don't want to say overwhelmed, but overwhelmed that it was no longer a struggle. And there was a very clear path to how to get to the end result. It was going to take work to do, but it was so much less work than I had convinced myself, because I couldn't even wrap my brain around how I was going to do it to all these videos. So it was huge. And you just knew all of the steps to get there very quickly.
Yeah, I love that exact example, because I remember the day that in your hot seat where that came up, and I gave that. And the fun part of that is that I had just discovered all of those tools and that workflow within the 2 to 3 weeks before you, because I was struggling with many of the same things that you were looking to achieve. And the fun part about it is I probably devoted about 20 to 30 hours of my time, effort, and energy researching all those tools, trying different ones that did and didn't work. And this one is what works better. And oh, by the way, don't forget to do this. I made that mistake 5 videos in. And so this is what we're talking about. Less trial and error, get further faster. It's just really an efficient learning curve. You're still going to have learning curve to whatever you want to do, but it's really nice to get into a group of people where, especially if you're on this same journey as like the entrepreneurial journey, then there's a lot of people who have some workflows and processes that have been proven. You may take it and say, okay, some of that doesn't apply for me, but at least you're much further along. I love that. All right. Constant inspiration. You are inspired by other people's ambitious goals. Have you experienced that?
I have, because everyone has this skill set, this strong skill set of what they've already been experts at all of these years. And now they're taking that expertise to do their own thing with, where I've already done that with my business, but I still am learning because they are doing seminars, courses, presentations, and lots of other things that are way ahead of where I'm at. But then you hear about it on a regular basis, and then you get inspired by it because you keep on hearing the different ways that people are doing it. And again, you know exactly who to ask and who to tap into if and when that's where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, my own experience of this is there are a number of times it's like, hey, this is what I've got going on, and it seems to be working for me. And then recently I'm exposed to somebody who says, well, you know what? I have this business where I've been going directly trying to add clients one by one, customers one by one. But I just found this other individual. He has a client list of 15,000 people who are my exact target audience. And he asked, hey, can I promote what you've got going on? They worked out a relationship. And now I'm starting to think, it's like, okay, I've been doing the Prosperous Coach method for creating clients now since July of 2019. And it's incredibly powerful. But I've only been thinking of connecting and creating clients with individuals who could directly be my client. But this has got me thinking, it's like, wait a second, I want to continue to do that. I love working with people one-on-one, but I have now created a list of 10 people who have lists of anywhere between 50 to 50,000 people on their list, where if they, and those people are my exact ideal customers, where I could joint venture with them and work out a creative partnership, maybe give them a referral fee, or maybe they hire me to coach or teach or give workshops to their entire teams of people. It's like, so being inspired by other people's things of what they're going after. I love it. What about accountability? Now, for me personally, I just want to state this. I never considered myself to be an accountability coach. It's not one of my favorite things to check in and say, hey, did you do this? But being in a mastermind group, even though we don't have like an accountability check-in, I still experience this, and I just wonder, do you as well? Do you feel like you have a level of accountability just by participating in the group?
I do have a level of accountability where I want to show up and make sure that I have done the work that I've said. However, so many of our projects that we get from a major hot seat is not something I can just come back and report. So every week we say this is our big win for the week. And so I have to think about that throughout the week and say, what's my biggest thing that I want to share this week? And so there are those progress goals to say, hey, I'm doing this, and everyone hears that also. Accountability, I actually have been an accountability coach. Back in 2021, I was having daily meetings with people, with a group of business owners. I was actually hosting 2, and there were 15 people in each group. And we would go around and say, what's your intention for today? They would say it. And then we would show up the next day and say, did you complete your intention or not? If not, why? And if so, what's your intention for today? And it was huge. The amount of progress people were making in a matter of weeks was huge. And I loved being that for people. Although as the coach myself, no one was holding me accountable. So that's the one piece that was missing there. But I was holding other people accountable. And I love that. So on a daily basis, no. On a weekly basis, you want to come in and say, yeah, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is what I've been doing. But it's not, on a super strict basis.
Yeah. And one thing that I have witnessed over time that does bring in a little bit more of the accountability aspect on a direct level, people are in a hot seat if there are 6 people in the group, in our group, the way we format it, then you're in the hot seat every 6 weeks. And I have noticed where somebody will be in the hot seat and they say, okay, what I'm going after is XYZ, right? And then they'll come back 6 weeks later and they bring up, it's like, okay, today I want to talk about ABC, and everything's all about ABC. And they're halfway into it, and it seems like they've chosen to go in a completely different direction than XYZ. And it's like, hey, wait a second. Can I just ask you something? I recall in your last hot seat, you said you wanted to do this, but it seems to me like this is actually completely different. What happened there? And so there is that little bit of accountability. Or sometimes we do say, hey, before we answer that question that you're looking to get answered right now, I want to ask you, how did things go with such and such that was in your last hot seat? So that we do have a little bit of that, but it's not the primary function of our mastermind group, because typically I'm filtering for people who are action takers and who are the type of people who, when they say they're going to do something, the fact that they've confessed that to a group of people that they admire, that's all the motivation and accountability they kind of need. And that's kind of the reason why I say that accountability is not like a promised, we've got frameworks for this, but yeah, you do get that accountability.
Actually, I want to touch on that because the reason that my accountability coaching kind of ended was because people were in 2 groups. One was people who didn't need accountability groups because they have extreme discipline and they get things done. And so they don't need to hear other people's things, or people who, even with the accountability group, they still weren't getting things done. It was really grouping into 2 separate areas. And so there were only a few people that were a handful that were staying right in the middle. And so I stayed in touch with them a different way. But it's exactly that was happening for sure. And even as you bring that up for our own hot seats and how that changes, after reading 10X is easier than 2X, my own, like everything shifting. And I'm flying out my employee this week, and she'll be here in California with me for the whole week. And it's brainstorming. It's figuring out where we're going, because it's not about doubling. It's like, how do you completely shift your mindset to say, like, what's the bigger picture? What do I love to do? And how can I do more of that so that it just feels easy? So that it's shifting it completely.
Yeah, I love that. I have people who apply for the Next Level Mastermind. And by the way, you'll be happy to hear yet another application just came in last night. So I sent him an email. I said, listen, I read your application. I'd love to invite you to a complimentary 90-minute one-on-one coaching session with no strings attached and no expectation, no obligation you'll ever become a paid client. And then the next line says, I know that you have applied to be a member and to be a paying customer, but this is just how I do things. And the reason why I do this is because I want to get a feel. Is this person an action taker? What kind of actions have they taken in the past? What kind of things give them as a hang up? I will almost always invite somebody who's even applied for the Next Level Mastermind into a second coaching experience, because what I do is at the end of the first call, I'll say, what are the insights that you got out of our call today? What's 1, 2, or 3 actions you know you're going to take over the next 2 weeks? And then I will not propose to them until 2 weeks later, if and only if they took those actions and can report back. And those who don't do the actions, they definitely don't get into the Next Level Mastermind, and on the fence about whether or not I'll actually invite them into one-on-one coaching relationship with me. So, because I like to work with people who take action. Anyway, the next bit.
Well, just that 90-minute coaching call is phenomenal. So if you can even get the free coaching call with Cliff, it's like, you haven't even hired him yet, and he's like in there, like just digging deep, and it's so powerful. It's really powerful.
There you go. So if you're full-time self-employed and you have no intention whatsoever of joining the Next Level Mastermind, go apply today and get that free session with Cliff. Thus says Anne Michelle. I love it. Deep dive brainstorming. Have you experienced a deep dive brainstorming session?
I mean, that's the hot seat, is the deep dive. Like you have an hour. I mean, so it's an hour and a half, but I would say the first 7 minutes of the call is general housekeeping. Everyone's getting on and saying what they've accomplished for the week and things like that. But so you basically have an hour and a half of, you can talk the whole time. You can show spreadsheets. You can do whatever you want. You can get personal. And it's an hour and a half of that feedback, of that dialogue, of that let's solve problems 1, 2, 3. And it's a huge amount of time that you are getting that. But yeah, it's a complete deep dive throughout the whole thing. And if you get off the call and then have more questions, then you're continuing to deep dive further. If you feel like you didn't get enough, I've always left with pages and pages of notes, even in other people's hot seats.
You mentioned the fact that oftentimes it's 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how many people are in the group between your hot seats. And you typically have enough because of how many notes you've taken from your own hot seat. But that's not the only value that you bring to that the mastermind group brings to the table. Oftentimes it's other people's hot seats where they bring up things that they're setting as intentions or goals that you haven't even thought of your own. And you're not only like, wow, that is a great thing for me to pursue, but you're also taking notes on all of the things that it would take if I were to choose to pursue that. It's like, oh my gosh, this is great. Not only is it a great idea that I should definitely consider, but here are all the resources or mindsets or ideas or strategies or tools related to the pursuit of that. And in a way, you kind of reserved and freed up your next hot seat because you may have chosen that, but you've already got that. So you could actually nuance your next hot seat, whether you say, okay, I've chosen to do this and I've already done all the things that you guys have said to give the advice that you gave to so-and-so. So now I'm here much further down the road than I would have been otherwise. And this is my question today. Or you could free up your hot seat for something completely different altogether and still have implemented that idea.
I am going to plug your other video. That's another reason that I came back to this, which was the one where you help us narrow down our top 3 goals. It's what are the 50 things that you want? Do you know which video I'm talking about?
It should be in the All Beliefs Have Consequences video that you get for free on my newsletter.
Yes.
I think so.
I think I watched, that must have come through, and I watched that, and I sat down with my now 19-year-old and wrote out.
Yes.
I came up with 60. And then we sat there for a couple hours and wrote down and kept diving down into what we want. And I came up with my 3. Of my 3, I ended up accomplishing 2. And I took 60 things I want. I narrowed them down to, after narrowing it down over and over, I came down to 3. 2 of them I've accomplished. And the third, I don't think that I want anymore. And I've transitioned that piece anyways. One of which being that I am now a licensed real estate agent. And so that, and it's I also did that with my daughter, though. Her list of 50 is on a yellow sheet hanging in her room, and she highlights all the things that she's done on it. So she doesn't even, she picked her top 3, but she wants all of them.
Of
So
course she
she's
does.
going after all of them. So you have inspired both of us, just that one video, to take that action, to be very disciplined about what we want and take all the steps to get there.
Awesome. And by the way, I do know exactly what video it is. It's not all beliefs have consequences. It is the 10-step formula for how to achieve any goal. And if anybody wants a link to that video, all you have to do is email me. My email address is right here, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, and put in the email subject line, steps to achieve any goal video. Put that in your email subject line. Say, Cliff, I would love that video that Anne Michelle talked about. It will teach you how to come up with a list of 50 things that you want, how to narrow it down to top 10 dreams, how to set your top 3 goals, and then specifically, step by step, a proven formula on how to create anything you want to create in life. 10 steps to achieve any goal. Email me today, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, if you'd like a link to that video. All right, next up, enhanced decision-making ability, diverse opinions of those in the mastermind group. So when facing a decision, you have a diversity of different perspectives. Have you benefited from this?
I have. And it really comes from everyone's different background. I mean, one person's hot seat, because he's more in technology, his hot seat made me go to my IT department and say, hey, I need to do this on my email and all of these things. And everyone took it very seriously that I didn't have these things set up. And so everyone having very different businesses has been very helpful too. It's not everyone in the group is a coach. I actually don't think anyone is a coach other than Cliff, but so no one else in the group is a coach. And so that's helpful because we all have these different backgrounds. So even though mine is in owning a legal services business, the sales and marketing and e-commerce is actually the part that I love. And so that's the part that I'm constantly learning more about. And so that's where I can help other people as well. But, and then there's someone who's in finance. So there are different perspectives that are always coming forward.
Yeah. And there's nothing, it's definitely never the idea that you are going to want to get a consensus. Everybody in the agrees, this is your decision that you're facing. This is the direction you should go. And everybody in the group agrees with that. It's not like that. I mean, I've seen that from time to time because it becomes obvious to everybody but the person seeking the wisdom on the decision. But most of the time it's like, it's like, no, I think this is the best way for you to go. Or no, I think this is my experience, and of course we try to not say, I think this is what you ought to do, but here's what I've done when faced with similar things. And just that diversity, there's this scripture in the Bible that says plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. And one of my favorite ways of thinking about that is it's not necessarily that you succeed because you follow the advice of your many counselors, because oftentimes the advice of your many counselors, if the more counselors you have, the different the advice will be. It's just having access to perspectives and ways of seeing the potential for you of the directions you could go from perspectives outside of your own limited way of seeing it. I can't forget the number, or I'll never forget the number of times. That's still not the right way to say it, but there have been a number of times where I'm like, hey guys, I have a decision. I should either do this or do that. And after I get out of the hot seat, it's like, well, gosh, I could have my cake and eat it too. Or the number of times it's like, I went to my mastermind group and at one point, I said, hey, you really helped me a couple of months ago when I raised my rates from $150 an hour to $300 an hour. Now I'm at this place where I'm booked solids for 6 weeks, and I'm really considering another price increase. Should I raise my rates from $500 an hour or to $1,500 an hour? And this was when I was in technical podcast consulting mode, and they said, neither. Stop doing one-on-one. And that's when they suggested that I go to group coaching. And then I launched a group coaching program that generated over $1 million over the next several years. So, yeah, I love that. Here's one for you. Emotional support is a benefit of the Next Level Mastermind. And it doesn't matter. I usually filter for psychographics. I look for positive-minded people. But no matter how positive-minded an individual is, the entrepreneurial journey comes with highs and lows. And oftentimes we can get triggered into some pretty low emotional states that can get us stuck. Have you experienced anything when it comes to emotional support from the group?
Sure, there have been lots of tears. Tears because of like something makes me emotional, or something as I didn't think I could do it, or I don't know how I'm going to do it. And being able to be raw and be vulnerable with this group of people that shows up every week. I don't think that it's a requirement to show up every week, but we show up every week and we're always there for each other. And again, if someone can't make it, we know why they can't make it, and they usually follow up and watch it anyways, and they provide their feedback. And so you get to know these people. And like I said before, they're like family, and they're your group, and they're your people that you can easily turn to, and you don't feel bad turning to them. And so if you're tearing up, or if other people are tearing up, I mean, all of us are really grouping together. And there are men in the group. I think there are more men than women. And everyone is super supportive, and everyone offers their feedback and shares. And there's no right or wrong. It's just a very supportive group, no matter what your topic is that particular day. So yes, it's surprising how much that is a component of the mastermind. And I love that it is, because again, we are real people, we are real humans, and you cannot own a business and run a business without taking in the context of relationships and everything else that's going on in your life. All of it is a factor to how you are doing in your business as well.
Yeah. There are a couple of things that you brought up there. One, you talk about the fact that we have a diverse group of not just men, but also women. But the Next Level Mastermind is currently, I think it's half women, half men, because there's you, Anna Sophie, and my wife, Stephanie. And then there's myself, Rick Lindbergh, and Chris Nelson. Okay, and there's also Tim Montague. So you're right. It's slightly skewed on the male side. So we need women entrepreneurs to go to nextlevelmastermind.info. You could balance the force. All right. I love it. And by the way, one other note, just real quickly, it is required that you show up every week. There is a commitment. It's very important that you understand that if you're making a commitment to this group, that your weekly scheduled mastermind call is a priority in your business scheduling. It's not that you can't miss. I mean, we have many people who do speaking and training, and sometimes there's travel, or you're hosting a workshop that day. So yes, people do miss, and it's very much a part of the business lifestyle that we have. But it is encouraged that if you do miss, that it's not required that you listen to the recording of the call and provide feedback. That's completely up to you. But making the weekly calls a priority is pretty much a big deal for us. So with 8 minutes and 40 seconds left, and Michelle, I'd love to hear a little bit about what you would say to anybody who has been listening to my content or watching my content that I've been putting out for the last 18 years. And here's the thing. There are people every month that reach out to me. Cliff, I've been listening to you for the last 8 to 10 years, or the last 10 to 12 years. And they're just now applying for coaching. They're just now applying for this. What would you say to somebody who's been listening to me for years? They're full-time self-employed, they have a business, and they don't have a mastermind group like this. What would you say to them?
I'm going to assume that people are stuck. Either they don't have people to collaborate with, they don't have someone to bounce ideas off of, maybe they want to go to the next level, they want to think about retirement, they want to think about what the next thing is their business. Because the reality is, if they're already at retirement, they're not looking for coaching and mastermind. So this is really the person who owns their own business and is saying, but there's something holding me back. I don't know exactly what it is. I know that I want more. I know I'm designed for more. I know that there's more purpose out there. There's this level that you get to as a business owner where it's kind of lonely and you don't know who to turn to, and you can try join local networking groups and those business referral groups and networking and all of those. And those have never taken me anywhere, because you end up just eating lunch and trading cards and saying, okay, you do this business and I'll refer you to this person. And that one-on-one is not helping you propel your business to the next level. It's thinking outside of the box. It's thinking bigger. It's thinking brighter. And you can't do it alone. And unless you live in a household with 5 other people that are also business owners, again, I would hope that if they're successful business owners, they're not all sharing the house with you. Unless you have that, this is the way that you can have that every single week, by showing up for them showing up for you, so that you can push yourself to whatever that next piece is, because you know that you should be there, but you don't know how.
I love that. I used to be a part of BNI when I was an insurance agent because it made a lot of sense. And there's a lot of value in some of those networking, exchange of referrals and stuff like that. But I very much consider that to be along the lines of working in your business. When you're attending those meetings, you are working in your business. And based upon everything you just shared, the Next Level Mastermind is an opportunity for you once a week, every week, to devote 90 minutes to working on your business. It's usually the one thing that's missing in most people's entrepreneurial journey. And Michelle, what are you doing in the world? Can you describe who you are? This is going to live on for many years. What would you like to promote?
That's a little scary if it lives on for many years, because I still have to define my future self, which may be different in 1, 5, and
This is a
10
chance for
years.
you to be your future self now, but I know you're still working on that, as we all are.
Yeah, so I am a consultant for self-managing investment property owners. But I technically solve problems. So when you have a problem with your investment property, you have tenants in the property. I work for landlords, and I help you solve whatever those problems are. California, only in the state of California. So California has extremely limited laws for investment property owners, and I want to help investors understand what their rights are and make sure that they understand what their tenant rights are as well. Both are equally important. As time goes on, and I have my real estate license now, I am a connector. I connect these self-managing landlords with property managers. I connect them with real estate agents if they're ready to sell their properties. And for me personally, in addition to the connecting, I will also be helping out investment property owners with those sales, specifically with 1031 exchanges, along with possible development of property, but focusing in the state of California. And there's one little thing about me. I also lived in Mexico for 2 years. So from 2020 until 2022, I was living in Baja. And so I'm very tied to that area, to that region, and to real estate agents in that area as well. So I would love to be able to collaboratively work in Mexico and show people the little gold mines that I found, because I basically was on vacation in Cabo with my family and rented a car and started driving, and somehow found all of these magical little towns as me as a mother with 4 children and driving around. And everyone said, what's the first thing people say is it safe? And so finding those places where I was safe, where it's dirt roads, where it's still developing, I would love to create collaborations down in Mexico, in Baja, as well as here in California, and help investment property owners continue to help them throughout their real estate journey.
Awesome. There's one other thing, and I didn't run this by you beforehand, but I'm just going to throw it out there. And that's this. If you are a female entrepreneur and you're looking to elevate to whole new levels of success, taking your mindset, beliefs about what's possible to a new level, there's not current products or services that Anne Michelle offers around this, but she is such an incredible source of inspiration. And if you're looking for a role model, if you're looking for a mentor, I would encourage you to follow Anne Michelle. Now, here's what I want you to understand. The idea of a role model and an idea of a mentor, it's not necessary that you have a personal one-on-one direct relationship with that individual. There's a number of people in my life that are role models and that are mentors, one of which is Tony Robbins. I don't have a personal relationship with him yet. I'm only 1 degree separated from him by 10 of my closest peers and friends. But he's a role model and a mentor, and I study the things that he's done, and it's impacted my life in an incredibly profound way. Now, you could also have personal mentors and role models that you know and you can have conversations with, and who knows, maybe someday down the road, you might even have that opportunity with Anne Michelle. But certainly, I would encourage any female entrepreneur to follow Anne Michelle and just watch her story and anything that she shares, anytime she's interviewed, any content that she's created, even if you're not a self-managing property owner or any of this other stuff, you're not in California, if she's got a mailing list, sign up for it. Just see how she markets, see how she promotes, see how she shows up in the world personally and professionally. It's incredible. So, Anne Michelle, how can people follow you?
I mean, technically, if they want to see my Mexico journey, they can find that on Instagram. It's The Real Ann Michelle. Otherwise, you can email me. I actually don't, I guess I don't have something set up for the entrepreneurial me that's not just in the self-management mode, but probably LinkedIn would be a great place to find me.
Here's what you do. This is real simple. You email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, and say, I want to figure out how can I follow more of Ann Michelle's stuff. I will be prepared to hit reply and give you an email that'll have 3 links that will get you started on the journey of following Ann Michelle as your mentor and role model in the entrepreneurial journey. Ann Michelle, It's always a pleasure to connect, and this opportunity here to collaborate with you today has been awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience in the Next Level Mastermind. And folks, if you haven't signed up yet, head over there now. After this goes live and starts going out, we are going to fill up all of the remaining empty seats in the Next Level Mastermind. So make sure you submit your application today at nextlevelmastermind.info. It's not .com, nextlevelmastermind.info. Until next time, we encourage you to take everything you do to the next level. Well, there you go. That was my conversation and collaboration with Ann Michelle Francis. If you are full-time self-employed and you have not yet signed up for the Next Level Mastermind, I would highly encourage you, especially after that live stream has gone out and after this podcast episode has released, now is the time, especially if you've been listening to me for many years. If you feel like you've gotten some benefit from the content, if you've been inspired, if you've gotten unstuck as it relates to some of the items and tools and strategies and mindset techniques and just breakthroughs and insights that you've gotten from this one-way form of communication, imagine what it would be like to be in a group with me for 90 minutes a week, every week for at least a year. And not just myself, but folks who are just like Ann Michelle Francis, people who are all in this to, number one, have a creative, powerful, profound, and positive impact on the lives of the people we serve with our businesses, but who understand the value of doing life with other people who can give insightful, valuable advice. People who face the kind of risks and also rewards that we get as business owners. If you would like to join the Next Level Mastermind, today is the day to do it. Don't sit on the fence any longer. Head over to nextlevelmastermind.info right now. Link in the show notes. Sign up today. Apply today. And you'll get that complimentary one-on-one 90-minute coaching session with me with no strings attached, no expectation, no obligation that you'll ever become a paid client. So there you go. I can't wait to chat with you within the next couple of days. Until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level.
Mindset and